Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar. Really excited for this today. I know a lot of practices really struggle with knowing how to constantly reposition their practice for success when things are changing so rapidly in the market and in the healthcare landscape. So that's why we created this webinar to give you a checklist that addresses major practice concerns such as websites, review generation, patient engagement, and more. So let's get started. My name is Pauline Ith, and I'll be your host for today's webinar. I'm an account manager here at GMR Web Team, where we combine the latest technology with custom marketing solutions to help practices acquire more patients and increase retention. So on today's agenda, we'll talk about what obstacles practices are facing right now and what the current trends are. So this has really affected how we shaped our checklist for success. And then we'll dive into the actual checklist where we'll discuss setting goals, creating a mobile website, patient retention, engagement, reputation management, and of course, tracking some key metrics. And then at the end, we'll have a Q&A session. So make sure you leave your questions in the Q&A box and we'll get to them at the end. So the healthcare industry has evolved a lot over the years. In fact, more and more doctors were realizing that marketing and more technologies definitely needed to be competitive. Again, so let's dive into exactly what's happening in healthcare right now. So first, there's been a large shift in the patient experience over the years. So patients are really expecting a lot more out of their care, due in part to healthcare consumerism. So we're seeing a lot more patients willing to switch to different providers or practices. And they're also having a lot of insurances with high deductibles. So healthcare isn't necessarily super cheap. So patients want to make sure whatever they're spending their money on, they get top level service and care. And second thing too, we're seeing a rise in telehealth and internet usage and technology. Again, this has all made healthcare a lot more accessible in terms of the services and the information, just arms patients with more options and knowledge to receive the care they need. And of course, for providers to grow, more channels for you to grow than just maybe having in-person visits, right? So COVID-19 has really accelerated the acceptance of telehealth and telemedicine. Also, patients are becoming more tech savvy, right? So they want more online appointment availability, access to their patient portal, and they really expect you to have increased web presence. And third, there's been an increased importance of online reviews. So not only in terms of patient usage, but it's becoming an important factor in how your practice ranks on Google. Thinking about the healthcare consumerism point earlier, patients are treating healthcare just like other industries like restaurants, hotels, e-commerce products like Amazon. Patients really want to know about the experience before they, book an appointment. So, we got to keep those things in mind as we go through this checklist. So let's dive in exactly into things you need to position your practice for success. So first thing, I really want you to know your goals and who you are. So this includes identifying, your ideal patient and what makes you different. So I know that a lot of practices say they want all patients, but when I dig deeper, I find that a lot of people do have a patient type that they enjoy seeing or a specific case. I really want you to think about the cases you enjoy attending to. So what makes those patients different? Do they all have something in common? Do they have a common insurance? What's their demographic? The more specific you are, the better you can create a more tailored marketing strategy. Again, it's really hard to be all things to all people. So when you work with a company like GMR, we make sure we find out exactly who your ideal patient is, because that helps us better create a custom strategy. So next, you want to really set your long-term and short-term goals. So these should be pretty reasonable. Of course, everyone wants, 100 new patients per day, but that's not always what your practice can handle. That's not always realistic in terms of what results we can get through marketing, right? So for example, I like to say that if you're seeing 20 patients right now, how many can you handle in terms of your booking, right? So if you can handle 5 more patients per day, then that's great, reasonable goal to set right now. again, you want to make sure you walk before you can run, because the problem is I find even if you can get all those patients, like over 100 patients in, then you want to make sure your services are able to meet their expectations, right? Because if you're constantly acquiring new patients and not be able to meet their expectations, you're losing out on those patients anyways. So third, you also want to identify your new patient lifetime value. So this is really important when it comes to any marketing strategy, because you really want to understand the return on the investment you're getting. Patient lifetime value is a really great way we like to do it here at GMR. So this can vary across different specialties. So for example, if you're a physical therapy practice, most patients come in for an average of 6 sessions. And if each session is worth $150 to you, then the average lifetime value will be 150 times 6, which is $900. So then every time you acquire a new patient, their total lifetime value should be 900, not just for the first initial visit they come in for. Because the idea is once you get those patients in, you keep them, right? That's the most ideal situation. And lastly, I just really want you to make note of what makes you unique. I ask this always, every single time you onboard a new client. I actually find a lot of people kind of struggle to answer it. I think maybe because they've never thought about it and they're just always looking for new patients. But again, it's really important to the marketing strategy, just like any other business. I usually like to ask, do you have any specific training? Do you offer a service that no one else has? Do you do same day appointments? Does no one else do that? Do you offer a free consultation? Do you cater to a certain patient population? These unique value propositions should really resonate with your ideal patients too. So it's all interconnected. Again, this makes it easier for you to create a website, have a marketing plan that really helps you stand out and makes an impact, right? So keep that in mind. So next thing is creating a mobile friendly and responsive website. So this is one of the best ways you can quickly get your practice positioned for success in the modern age. And this is because 80% of users are already using a smartphone to search the internet, right? And this has increased so much over the past few years since I've been here at GMR. A few years ago, maybe about only a third of the traffic was from mobile, but now it's over 50 to 60% for all of my clients. And like I said, it comes back to the stat, right? Most people have a smartphone. That's what they're using every single day of their lives. So you want to make sure your website is mobile friendly. Second, we find that a lot of people get frustrated if their website isn't mobile friendly. They're going to be less likely to use your service, even if they like you. So with more tech savvy patients, convenience is everything. Websites should also be easy to use, help you attract more patients and increase that search visibility, right? Because I always say your website is a tool for patient acquisition, not just something to make look nice. So it's a tool for you. So considering that, let's kind of go over some tips to create a responsive design. So make sure the design is compatible on all devices. So that's essentially what responsive design means. So that means your website should adjust to whatever the device the user is using, whether that's a laptop, mobile, or tablet. So you can see here, this is an example of a mobile version of a site that we created for one of our clients. Again, it's adjusted, has like a little menu at the top. You can easily book an appointment. Again, last thing you want is to have people like pinch in and zoom to read information on your website. I've had to do that before, and it's definitely a hassle. So make sure it's compatible on all devices, and you also have simple and easy navigation. So you don't want your site cluttered. Make it clear, clearly laid out. So that includes info about you as the provider, the practice, the services you provide, new patient information, for example, and how to book an appointment and how to contact. Again, a lot of people make the mistake of focusing on having a really pretty website, but then it doesn't actually function as a tool for patient acquisition. So striking a balance is really important. So you want to make sure you have, a fast loading time. So then I'm sure you guys have been frustrated with a site that doesn't load, so don't let that happen to you. So loading sites result in increased number of people, quickly leaving your site after finding it. So heavy images, video, too many WordPress plugins can really affect your load speed. So you want to make sure you strike the right balance between beautiful design and functionality. And lastly, you want to make sure your appointment form and call button is easy for a prospective patient to contact you. Remember, your website is a tool for patient acquisition. Again, I've seen some sites that don't even have a call button or an appointment form readily available. So again, make it easy, not difficult for patients to reach out to you. So patient satisfaction monitoring. So since patients' expectations are not only increasing, patient satisfaction monitoring is really key to our retention strategy. Again, patients will leave your practice if they're not satisfied with the experience or care, right? That's the trend we originally saw in the beginning of the presentation. So let's also talk about some other benefits of patient satisfaction monitoring, because I still think a lot of providers don't know the importance of it quite yet. They, of course, know patients should be happy, but monitoring is such a key factor into this. So it results in increased revenue, right? So from this Harvard Business Review study, they found that by increasing retention by 5%, it can help boost profits to 25 to 95%, depending what industry you're in. So that makes sense, right? So more patients choosing to stay with you, I mean, more business, and also fewer acquisition costs, right? So can you only imagine if you're spending a lot of money to acquire a really high volume of new patients and they don't stay, then you're losing money, right? So patient satisfaction monitoring can really help keep those patients within your loyal patient base. So second, it really helps, again, build that loyal network of patients. This results in more positive word of mouth for you. They're more likely to visit you again, and more loyal patients result in more referrals to your practice. And lastly, it actually helps improve clinical outcomes. So patients will be more likely to be proactive in their care in regards to prevention and disease management if they're happy with the care they receive, right? So really imagine if you didn't have a good experience, you're not going to want to follow any of those doctors' suggestions, right? So having a good experience really sets the tone for the care you're going to receive and if you're going to follow care. So let's talk about how to monitor satisfaction and exactly what your retention plan should look like. So ideally, in order to understand what to fix, you need data and information, right? So you want to get fresh feedback. We recommend surveying patients after their appointment to learn exactly what they thought of their visit. If you leave it for 1 to 2 weeks or even once a quarter, the response rate will be really low, and a lot of patients won't remember, what happened during their visit. So next, once you have all this information, you want to gather the insights and take a look at what's going on. Identify your strengths and weaknesses. Maybe you can find certain patterns and trends that are occurring. Again, this really helps you nip any problems right in the bud before they start reoccurring and you lose patients without even knowing it, right? So that's one of the reasons why I think it's really important to take a look at your data and then see how your practice is performing in every department, right? So whether that's front desk, bedside manner / providers, or the nursing staff. I've often find that sometimes patients have a specific issue besides like their interaction with the provider. So you want to make sure you adjust that because your staff is so important to your success, right? They're the first people patients come in contact with. So I love breaking it down by department. At GMR, we use AI sentiment analysis to kind of take a look at, okay, what's going on in each department, and we quickly analyze the data for you. So that's the beauty of having kind of a robust system for this. But again, you can always create a process yourself, and I think these are the best steps to have. And of course, lastly, create a service recovery process to bring those unsatisfied patients back into the fold. So first, I recommend tackling those unsatisfied patients once you get notification of the negative survey response. At GMR, our platform automatically does this. Some EMR systems come with their own satisfaction survey notifications, but really trying to automate most of the things when you can. Because once you get those notifications, you should assign someone on your team to do the outreach. So this can be your practice manager or patient experience coordinator. If you have multiple locations, it can be one particular person at each location who's familiar with the staff and the patients. I think that might work best. Again, have it be someone who's poised and calm. Patients will always appreciate a live person reaching out. It can really show them that you're actually reading their feedback and proactively addressing it. It really does create a very positive impression. And for a lot of our clients, they're able to kind of retain like about 70 to 80% of those patients. So again, it's really making a good impression on your current patients. So third, you also want to document all the responses, right? So with our system, you can see exactly which patients are still in progress of being reached out to, which still haven't been contacted, and then which requests have been completed and closed. So this helps us see exactly how many patients we're able to keep. And again, collaboration is really key here. Whoever's in charge of patient service recovery should be communicating with the rest of the team about how the experience can improve and what's going on, right? Again, this really helps bring you success, especially as you grow. So reputation management. So this is really critical for success, especially when patients are looking at reviews more than ever. So I also want to talk about exactly how reviews factor into patient acquisition, because people don't usually think that's a key factor, but really reviews actually impact your rankings on Google. According to Bright Local, reviews account for 17% of the Google ranking factor and 5% of organic search rankings. Again, these percentages seem small, but they were actually not even a factor a few years ago. So it's constantly growing every single year and how much Google is relying on the reviews to rank you. In addition to that, patients actually just check reviews before selecting a provider, right? We find that 81% of patients consider online reviews. So if they see that you have negative reviews, you're going to be, not in a position to convert that patient from a website visitor to an appointment, right? Someone else with better reviews is going to be in a better position to do so. So reviews are so important in the selection process, right? In addition to that, it also impacts your referrals, both patient and from referring physicians, because if a patient is referred to you and you have bad reviews, you're going to be asking the referring physician, why did you recommend me to this person? They have really bad reviews, right? So that's not a good impact on you, and it doesn't help with your reputation online and in person. So it definitely helps with patient acquisition, right? So let's talk about reputation management and review generation plan. So reputation management review generation encompasses obviously getting more reviews, monitoring reviews, and responding to all reviews. So I think it's really important to have a formal process because that's the best way to generate new reviews on a consistent basis. Review recency really matters. So just because you have good reviews now doesn't mean it's going to matter in a year or two if you don't have new reviews coming in. Patients really look at reviews in the last 6 months for relevancy. So again, generating them on a consistent basis is really key. So many practices also ask how they can better encourage their staff to ask for more reviews. Some people, they're really good at asking, and some people, that's just not something they're as skilled with. So when you have a software system to do it, it really takes out that human factor. And then you're always automatically sending out text and email to all your patients. Again, manually is pretty difficult, or just asking them in person, but having a step process that makes it easy to leave a review is the best way to do it. Also, positive reviews really do help mitigate any reviews you might have now or in the future that you may get. I never say you can 100% prevent negative reviews from happening, but generating more positive reviews and monitoring the patient experience can really mitigate the number of negative reviews that can happen. So third, you want to make sure you respond to all of reviews, whether it's positive or negative. That's really important for the prospective patient, because when they look at your reviews, they want to see you're actually looking at feedback and responding back, right? So when you address unhappy reviews in a really polite manner, it really shows that you're always in tune with what the patient experience is, and that you want to see you actually are taking feedback into consideration. So it's really important you respond to all reviews and make sure you do it in a HIPAA compliant manner. Lastly, of course, just monitoring your online reviews. At GMR, we have our dashboard that makes it really easy to do so. Reputation management system can really also help you get notified of new reviews, and again, put all the reviews in one place so you don't have to struggle to see what you have on Health Grades versus Google versus WebMD. So that's why we love that. So let's talk about patient engagement. This really does go in hand with service recovery and patient satisfaction monitoring. Patient engagement, we consider that, just increase access to more convenient care, more ways to engage patients through online technology, including two-way texting, follow-up appointments, and whatnot. And patient engagement has been a really hot topic in the healthcare industry as of recent. And it's really because research has shown that the least engaged patients are twice as likely to delay care and 3 times more likely to have unmet medical needs than really highly engaged patients. So again, this really affects the patient at the end of the day. So we want to make sure we increase engagement because it's pretty much a win-win situation for both the provider and the patient. Some other benefits too, again, reduce cancellations and no-shows. More engaged patients are, the more likely they'll show up and understand the value of their care, right? And second, helps improve satisfaction. Again, retention too, it all goes hand in hand together. Increase engagement, satisfaction just result in a more loyal patient base, right? And of course, generating more revenue. So, reliable healthcare services are, really important to patients. So the more they're satisfied and they stay with your practice, the more revenue you get out of it. So let's dive into exactly what are some key components of a patient engagement plan. So first, automated appointment reminders. I think this is such a great tool to have. Again, a lot of practices usually call and remind, but with more technology available now, I think it's really good to have this option for, especially for your tech savvy patients. Makes your staff's life easier and it makes it easier for patients to confirm appointments really quickly through text. Second, real-time two-way texting and communication is great. It opens more lines of ways for patients to reach out to you as a practice. Just make sure your texting option is HIPAA compliant. A lot of our clients use this to communicate patient info, get insurance info, and patients can even request new appointments. So we love having two-way texting as a way to engage patients. Patient education is also important. For example, you can share a monthly newsletter, can help position you as an authority, but also provide tips for patients to be more informed and be empowered to take be proactive about their care. So we love doing this through email, text, social media also counts, but I especially love email because it goes right into their inbox. That's patient education. Again, having those tips, the latest news in healthcare really helps you show that you care. So fourth is more convenient care. So we kind of talked about two-way texting. So that's one of the ways to give options to get care through text, or continuing having telemedicine is something really great. Again, it's been increased in acceptance. So with more options, patients have more choice and are willing to get the care they need. And lastly, having a reactivation strategy is also part of patient engagement. I've seen a lot of practices do mailers, physical mail, to remind people to get in for their dental exam or eye exam. And you can definitely still do this, but since there's more technology available, sending emails for this is a great way to reactivate or recall patients for their care. So definitely recommend having a reactivation strategy. And there's some vendors who automatically do this and connect with your EMR, or with a lot of our clients, as long as you have a list, we can send out emails and just letting them know, hey, it's a friendly reminder for you to receive your care. So that's with patient engagement. And let's talk a little bit about tracking your performance. So I find that a lot of practices don't do this, but in order to understand how to improve in the results, you actually need to be looking at some data. So some key metrics I think you need to know are new patient numbers. Again, this allows you to see if your practice is on an upward swing. We recommend taking a look at how many inquiries are coming from your website versus phone versus other method like referrals. Some practices don't know by channel. So I think it's really important for you to understand, because I think I get too many questions about if the marketing is working. In order to assess, you need data. So you want to make sure you track that, and then know your acquisition costs. So for example, if you're spending $2,000 per month on marketing and each lifetime value of each patient is $500, then you just need 4 patients at least break even on your costs, right? So this helps you understand how many more patients you're getting per what you're spending. So if you're spending $10,000, $20,000 a month and you're only receiving like 5 patients, then something's not working, right? So I think that's the best way I can help my clients understand what the return is that they're spending with us. So definitely take the same approach, right? That's why we talked about that new patient lifetime value in the beginning. It's really important. Next, online reviews and ratings. So we already talked about that a little bit, but definitely know what your rating is, if it's improving, how recent your reviews are, and what quantity. Ideally, you want to have at least 4 stars with a total of at least 10 reviews across a variety of review sites and generating reviews on a monthly basis. So again, with our tool, you can see where we started with our clients and then where they are now. So it helps us gauge the success and if we need to make adjustments in the reputation and review generation strategy. Lastly, satisfaction scores. Again, we talked about service recovery and satisfaction monitoring. So you want to make sure when you use the survey, you're using numerical data, right? Especially with our clients, we just ask for a rating of 0, 1 to 10, 10 being the highest score. And this helps us track the satisfaction as they are with us, especially as they start growing, getting more patients. We obviously want to see the score go up, but if we see it dip, then that's when we know something is missing and needs adjustments. So satisfaction scores is one of the key metrics I think everyone needs to know. So now we're at the end of our presentation. So I know we went over a lot of information, so I just want to quickly kind of recap, the key takeaways. So first, we definitely talked about how the healthcare field is changing and the new challenges. Again, there's increased demand for better services, in a better patient experience, from patients. And increased technology, internet use, review use is really impacting what it takes for your practice to be successful. Second, we also talked about setting reasonable goals and identifying your ideal patient and knowing what makes your practice different, right? Because in order to establish an effective marketing plan, you kind of have to know who you are and what you're offering. So that's the second thing we talked about. And we also talked about how to calculate your new patient lifetime value, right? Because that's key to measuring success. We went over how to make a responsive, mobile-friendly website. Again, your website is a patient acquisition tool, not just something that looks pretty. So make sure you strike a right balance between that and that it is effective for acquisition. And then fourth, we talked about strategies and tools for patient satisfaction monitoring, engagement, reputation management, review generation. Again, these are really key factors to position your practice for success moving forward. And of course, we talked about key metrics to track your marketing campaigns and results. Again, tracking is critical to knowing what there is to improve, because last thing you want to do is not know what the results are from what you're investing in. So now some time for some questions. So let me see if we have any. So we just have one question here. It's which review sites should we prioritize? I get this question a lot, and we've done some market research to find out this. And we found that 76% of patients check Google, followed by WebMD. So those are the top 2 sites you should prioritize. So Google, it's definitely king, but again, it differs for every practice, right? So you have great reviews on Google, but poor reviews on Yelp or Health Grades, then you need to adjust your strategy accordingly. But I would say just overall, Google is the most important, followed by WebMD. Okay, so I think that's the only question that we have. But if you ever need help with growing your practice, you can definitely schedule a free consultation with us. We're always available to do a free assessment and just give you some advice on, how to, market and grow your practice. Hold on. I'm just seeing one other question I just got here. Do you have templates on how to respond to online reviews, especially the 1 stars? Yeah, we actually have had a webinar on this, so we can definitely share that with you. I have your name here, Mirza, so I can definitely send that over to you. Definitely there's an art to it. Again, because HIPAA compliance is a really big thing, you want to make sure you respond to those negative reviews properly. So you also have a webinar in it, but I can definitely get your information here, Mirza, and I can send that over to you. We can talk about it further. Because again, responding to those reviews are really critical because you don't want to respond to them improperly. It's going to look bad on you. So that's a good question. Awesome. Okay, so that's it. So again, you have our contact information. So if you have any other questions on patient acquisition, retention, anything of that nature, we'd love to help. Our contact info is here. And I just really want to thank everyone for their time, for joining us today. I know you have a really busy schedule. So hope you have a great rest of your day. And again, thank you for joining